A human soldier fed an alien princess chicken nuggets. Now their forbidden bond is about to change the entire galaxy. He fed the alien princess chicken nuggets, and it changed the galaxy. The day Princess Leora of House Virith discovered human food, the galaxy should have issued an evacuation warning. Not because anything exploded, though something very nearly did, but because no one, least of all Corporal Jace Rennick, was prepared for how fast a single purple-skinned alien woman could unravel a man's sanity through pure enthusiasm. Jace had been assigned as her diplomatic escort for 72 hours. 72 hours. No one warned him. Escort would include meals, lessons on utensils, crash courses in Earth slang, or preventing a royal scandal every 6 minutes. Leora leaned forward now, eyes bright like twin amethysts polished in sunlight. What is this shape? It is uneven, purposefully irregular. Her voice was melodic, the kind that vibrated in the chest and made Jace's brain drop a percentage point in function. "They're chicken nuggets," he said, offering one from the tray. "Fried. Simple. Terrible for your arteries. Humans love them anyway." She took it delicately between her fingers, studying the golden crust as if it were a sacred artifact. Chicken. She rolled the word around like she was trying to taste it before eating it. "This is the creature with feathers, yes? The one that announces the dawn?" "That's a rooster," he corrected, "but close enough." She sniffed the nugget. Her eyes widened. "It smells joyful." Jace choked on a laugh. "That's grease." Leora bit into it. Her entire posture changed, shoulders dropping, pupils dilating, wings, currently retracted beneath her travel harness, fluttering just once beneath the skin. She froze mid-chew, hands hovering, as though receiving a psychic transmission from the universe itself. Then, Jace. Yes? This is extraordinary. He grinned despite himself. "Yeah, they're a classic back home." "No," she said, leaning so close her silver-white hair brushed his cheek. "You do not understand. I am experiencing emotions." "From a nugget?" "From this nugget." She finished it with a reverence normally reserved for coronations. Then she grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. "You will procure more." "It's a whole tray, Your Highness." "More," she repeated, dead serious. "For research." And the strangest thing happened. Jace felt warmth spread in his chest as he pushed the tray closer. Watching her delight was its own reward. She took another bite, then looked up at him with a spark he recognized instantly. Trouble. "Human Jace," she said, "I believe this may change my people's entire understanding of Earth." "It's just a snack." "It is revelation in breading." Jace blinked. "What?" She lifted the nugget like she was delivering divine scripture. "You have shown me a joy my world has never tasted. The Council must know. My mother must know." Jace winced. "The Empress?" "Yes." Leora nodded sincerely. "She may faint." He rubbed a hand over his face. "Princess, with full respect, please don't start an interstellar diplomatic upheaval over a Happy Meal." She straightened, offended. "I would never cause upheaval." A beat passed. Not intentionally. Jace muttered into his cup. "That doesn't make me feel better." But she was already reaching for another nugget, blissfully unaware that this tiny moment, her first earthly bite, would ripple across star systems in ways neither of them could foresee. And Jace. Jace was already doomed, because nothing in any military handbook prepared him for a purple alien princess smiling at him with a mouthful of chicken. "Explain these," Leora demanded a few minutes later, gesturing to the small bowls lined up on the tray. The nugget population had taken heavy casualties. "They are clearly part of the ritual." "Those," Jace said, "are dipping sauces." Her head tilted, silver hair cascading over one shoulder. "You apply liquids to the joy food?" "Yeah. Enhances the flavor." Her eyes narrowed. Why would you hide enhancement? Why was this not mentioned earlier? This is critical intelligence, Jace. I was easing you in, he said. First contact protocol. Don't overwhelm the princess with condiments. She stared at him, then slowly, suspiciously, picked up a nugget. Demonstrate. He dragged his chair closer, too aware of how close her knees came to his leg under the little metal table, and dipped a nugget into the reddest bowl. This one's ketchup. Tomato-based. Sweet, a little tangy. Very earth. Tomato, she repeated. The red fruit that is not a fruit unless it is politically convenient? He blinked. You read a briefing packet, didn't you? Of course. My mother insisted. You people argue over classification of vegetables. It seemed culturally important. He laughed, surprised. You're not wrong. He offered the dip nugget. She leaned in and took it directly from his fingers, lips brushing grease from his knuckles before her brain seemed to register what she'd done. They both froze. A beat. 2. Heat surged up Jace's arm like he'd stuck his hand into a plasma conduit. Leora's cheeks darkened from violet to a deep plum, which he'd learned was the Vrethi equivalent of blushing. She started. That was... He tried at the same time. They both shut up. Then she cleared her throat with the exaggerated dignity of royalty, pretending nothing mortifying had occurred. We shall not speak of this again. Absolutely, he lied. She chewed, eyes going wide again. It tastes like joy and aggression. Ketchup, he said. Very human. She pointed at the next bowl. And that? Barbecue. Smokier. Kind of nostalgic. Reminds people of home, campfires, pretending your family doesn't drive you insane. You speak of your family with affection and exasperation in the same breath, she observed. That's the only way to do it. She held out a nugget this time. Show me. He dipped it for her, their fingers brushing, that jolt of contact tightening his chest again. He tried to ignore it. She was a princess. He was a corporal with a decent aim and a bunk that squeaked. Nothing was going to happen here except polite chaperoning and maybe a minor incident involving sauce on formal robes. She bit into the barbecue dip nugget, closed her eyes, and made the kind of small, involuntary sound that should be illegal in mixed company. I understand nostalgia now, she murmured, and I have never tasted this before. Welcome to Earth's greatest diplomatic weapon, Jace said. Processed meat products. Her eyes opened. If your generals knew how powerfully persuasive this is, would they not deploy it in negotiations? He thought of the last trade summit and snorted. You haven't seen an admiral eat. That's already happening. She looked thoughtfully at the tray. My people view human culture as loud, messy, impulsive, dangerous, but if this is what you feed your children, then there is something else there too. High cholesterol, Jace offered. Comfort, she said softly. You build comfort into your chaos. The remark landed heavier than he expected. For a moment the joking eased, and he saw her as something more than a curiosity in a low-cut sand-green dress. She was far from home, on a world of harsh suns and temporary tents, surrounded by soldiers who watched her every move. Hey, he said, gentler. How's your first day of loud, messy, impulsive going? Her smile turned more fragile around the edges. Better now. Before this, the council session was... She searched for the word. A collision. Jace grimaced. He'd only been in the room as silent security, but he'd seen it. Human admirals, Vrethi counselors, translators juggling idioms at gunpoint. The Empress's message delivered via hologram, all cold elegance and sharper threats. One misinterpreted phrase away from war. Yeah, he said, you held your own. Her eyes flicked to him, curious. You watched? Part of the job. He shrugged. You were... impressive. Leora looked away, fingers whirring the edge of napkin. My mother does not think so. She's not here, Jace pointed out. I am, and I do. That earned him a very small, very real smile. You are an unusual soldier, Jace. How so? You feed your charge experimental foods during delicate negotiations. You use humor as a shield instead of armor. And you say dangerous things like, I am impressed by you, without apparent fear. That last one's only dangerous if it's false, he said. I don't lie to royalty. Sounds like it comes with paperwork. She studied him. Longer now. Is it only my performance in council that impresses you? Jace's brain helpfully supplied an image of her earlier, throwing her head back laughing, when a crumb landed on his nose. The desert light had caught the curve of her throat. His answer almost walked out, unedited. He cleared his throat. You ask sharp questions for someone experiencing chicken for the first time. To understand is to survive, she said quietly. My mother taught me that. But she never mentioned that to understand humans, one must also understand condiments. Earth's wisdom is vast, he said solemnly. A shadow fell across the table. Corporal! Jace snapped to attention so fast he nearly knocked the nugget tray to the ground. Sir! Captain Harrow stood there, arms folded, expressions suggesting he'd smelled something deeply unmilitary. You were instructed to acclimate Her Highness to base operations, not indoctrinate her into Terran fast food. Leora straightened, regal again in an instant. Captain Harrow, this fast food is a cultural artifact of great significance. I insist on further study. The captain's gaze flicked between them, lingering a fraction too long on the near-empty tray. Study? Yes, Leora said, eyes wide and innocent. We are conducting comparative culinary diplomacy. Jace struggled not to grin. Comparative culinary diplomacy. That was going in a report. Harrow exhaled through his nose. Very well. 10 more minutes. Then the princess must return to the diplomatic pavilion. The Empress is arranging a live link debrief. Leora's appetite visibly faltered at that, but she bowed her head. Of course! Harrow's eyes pinned Jace. Do not give her anything that requires an EpiPen. Yes, sir. The captain walked off, muttering something about babysitting. As soon as he was out of earshot, Leora slumped. I detest debriefs. Not a fan of reporting your nugget consumption to your mom? My mother, she corrected automatically. And no, she sees only risks. I wish she could see this. Leora gestured vaguely at the table, the golden light, the sandy air trembling with heat. It is imperfect, chaotic, dusty, loud, and yet I feel more myself here than I do in the crystal halls of home. Jace's heart tugged. Then we make sure you get more moments like this before you go back. Her eyes snapped to his. We? He swallowed. I mean, if I'm stuck as your escort anyway, might as well make it enjoyable, right? She regarded him a moment longer, then nodded. Very well, human Jace. I accept your proposal. Proposal? He repeated faintly. That we conspire to make this visit memorable. On my terms, not my mother's. He let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. Yeah, that deal. She held out her pink-tipped fingers, palm up, mimicking the human handshake she'd probably seen in her briefing materials. Jace took her hand. Her skin was warm, almost buzzing with faint bioelectric energy. The contact was brief, almost formal. His pulse did not get that memo. Leora smiled, a conspirator's smile this time, sharp and bright. Good, she said. Then let us begin by taking these nuggets into the history books. Jace had no idea what that meant. He would find out 37 hours later, when the first Nugget crisis nearly started a war. The Nugget crisis begins, without warning, naturally. 37 hours later, Jace realized two things simultaneously. 1. There should be an interstellar regulation forbidding princesses from making independent decisions after consuming 23 chicken nuggets in one sitting. 2. He was about to die. Probably. Or be court-martialed. Or both. The trouble began with a sound that could only be described as regal distress mixed with existential panic, echoing from inside the diplomatic pavilion. "Jace! Human Jace! Come immediately!" He sprinted inside, pushing past 2 guards, almost tripping over a crate of portable holoprojectors. He found Leora in the center of the pavilion, pacing in agitated circles, her silver hair sparking with static, wings flickering beneath her skin like trapped lightning. "Princess? What's wrong? Are you hurt?" She spun, eyes wide. "My mother contacted me early." "Okay, and?" "She saw me eating the chicken." There were phrases Jace expected to utter during his military career. "Take cover. Incoming fire." "No, sir, that was not me who reprogrammed the mess hall vending machine." But never, not once, had he imagined needing to say, "Your mother saw you eating a nugget?" Leora grabbed his shoulders and shook him hard enough to rattle vertebrae. "Yes, she was horrified. Jace, the Empress is now convinced humans are attempting to poison me." Jace blinked. "With fried poultry." She demanded immediate explanation. "What did you tell her?" "That I insisted on eating it." He winced. "And that helped?" "It did not." Jace scrubbed a hand over his face. "What's the fallout?" Leora stepped aside to show him the holographic console behind her. The Empress's message glowed above it in shimmering violet script. He read it once. He read it twice. Then he said eloquently, "Oh, hell?" The message translated roughly to, "Return home at once. You are compromised. The humans have weaponized snacks." Jace dragged both hands through his hair. "Your mother thinks nuggets are a biological warfare tool. Fantastic. Excellent. Love that for us." Leora's wings stuttered helplessly. "She demanded I abstain from further human food until a full xenogastrobiological scan is performed." He stared at her. "You're grounded from snacks. I am forbidden from joy." Jace paced now, boots crunching, over sand tracked in from outside. Okay, we can fix this. We just need to..." A booming voice cut him off. "Princess Leora!" Jace flinched. Commander Thane strode in, looking like a man about to personally throttle someone. Probably Jace. "Corporal Rennick," Thane growled. "Explain why the Empress of Virith has just contacted our generals accusing us of culinary sabotage." Leora stepped forward. "Commander Thane, I take full responsibility. Jace did nothing wrong. I requested the..." But Thane wasn't listening. His glare stayed locked on Jace with predatory precision. "You fed the princess unapproved food." Yes, but it was just..." "Chicken," Thane said flatly. "Yes." He pinched the bridge of his nose. "Corporal, you have created the first documented interspecies diplomatic incident involving fried meat." Jace opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. "Sir, may I point out that she liked it?" "That," Thane growled, "is not the problem." Leora stepped between them, chin tilted defiantly. "It is the problem, Commander. My people believe human food is crude, primitive, yet it contains joy, comfort, familiarity. If we flee the moment my mother panics, we reinforce that fear. We must show her and the Council that humans are not attempting to harm me, that these nuggets are harmless." Thane gave her a look full of weary disbelief. "Princess, with respect, humans have fought wars over less." Leora's eyes flashed. "Then let us prevent one." Thane sighed the sigh of a man who hadn't been trained for this nonsense. "And how do you propose we do that?" Leora turned slowly to Jace. He did not like that look. It was the look she had right before she decided humans should microwave a rock to see what happens. "Jace," she said sweetly, "you will help me create a demonstration." He blinked. "A what?" "A demonstration," she repeated, as if it were obvious. "We will host a formal tasting." "A what?" She clasped his hands, ignoring the commander's scandalized expression. "A culinary exchange, a banquet of mutual understanding. You will prepare the chicken. I will transmit the experience live to my mother and the council. Jace stared. You want to live stream chicken nuggets to your government? Yes. That's your plan? Yes. Thane looked like he was dying inside. Corporal, he said, this is insane. Sir, Jace replied, I agree completely. He turned back to Leora. But we're doing it anyway, aren't we? Absolutely, she said, and for reasons he would unpack much later, that made Jace's heart kick like a startled mule. Preparations for disaster, or diplomacy, depending on perspective, Leora insisted on choosing her attire for the event. This turned into a crisis of its own. This dress makes me look too authoritative, she declared, tossing aside a crystalline garment, worth more than Jace's annual salary. This one makes me look fragile. This one makes me look like I'm attending funeral rites. You look fine in all of them, Jace said, distracted as he reheated the nuggets in the field kitchen and tried not to think about how many ways this could blow up in his face. She paused. Fine? He froze. Beautiful. Stunning. Impossible not to stare at. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the question. Her cheeks darkened violet. Yes. Well, good. He mentally slapped himself. She chose a flowing desert green wrap that shimmered like sunlight through leaves. When she stepped into the kitchen, Jace forgot what language was for a good 3 seconds. You approve? She asked, voice soft in a way that wasn't quite teasing. Yes. You look diplomatic and confident and really presentable, she supplied. He coughed. Sure, let's go with that. Then she noticed the tray. Her eyes widened with awe usually reserved for newborn stars. Jace, you have made more. It's a tasting, he said. Needs variety. Nuggets, tenders, fries, 3 dipping sauces, and a bottle of seltzer because someone, he arched a brow, nearly choked last time. She looked offended. I did not choke. You absolutely did. I thought I was going to have to perform the Heimlich on royalty. She lifted her chin. Your human foods are structurally unpredictable, he snorted. Then her wings flickered faintly beneath her skin again, an involuntary tell he was starting to understand. She wasn't just excited. She was nervous. Jace lowered his voice. Hey, you okay? Leora hesitated. My mother does not trust humans. She believes we are impulsive creatures ruled by emotion. A beat. This is not helping my case. He stepped close enough to see the faint shimmer of iridescent flecks in her cheeks, the way her pupils expanded when she was overwhelmed. Your idea is good, he said firmly. It's honest, it's human, and it's you. She swallowed. And you will remain beside me the entire time? Always, he said. Her breath caught. Just a small thing, soft enough he doubted she meant him to hear it. Then, good. Then let us begin our nugget diplomacy. He picked up the tray. She pulled up the holotransmitter, and together they stepped into the pavilion where a dozen humans and Virethi delegates now waited, with varying degrees of dread and curiosity. The livestream countdown began. Leora whispered, Jace, if this fails, it won't. How do you know? He smiled faintly. Because you bite into a chicken nugget like it's the greatest miracle in the galaxy, and nobody, Empress included, can resist that level of sincerity. Her laughter was soft, breathy, hopeful. The light turned green. The transmission opened, and Leora Virith, heir to the crystal throne, addressed billions with their regal poise and a plate of fried food. Leora stepped into frame like a woman preparing to negotiate peace or launch a coup. The Virethi holo cameras hovered in a perfect arc behind her, projecting her image live to 6 star systems. Jace stood at her side with the tray, trying to look like a serious soldier, and not a man holding 30 freshly fried nuggets, as though they were sacred relics. Greetings, Leora began in her royal cadence, to the Council of Virith, to my mother, the Empress, and to all who witnessed this transmission. The humans in the room stood straighter. The Verethi delegates bowed their heads. Jace swallowed hard, every instinct screaming, "Why is this being streamed in 8K?" Leora continued. "It has come to my attention that concerns have arisen regarding my ingestion of human food." A ripple of discomfort passed through the Verethi side. The humans looked like they were watching a live bomb disarmament. Leora took a breath. "Today, I intend to demonstrate that these human foods, though unrefined, irregular in shape, and occasionally violent in texture, are not designed to poison, manipulate, or otherwise compromise me." Jace muttered under his breath. "That's honestly the best summary of Nuggets I've ever heard." Her eyes flicked sideways at him, amusement breaking royal composure just for a heartbeat. The holo display shifted, showing a close-up of the tray. Gasps echoed across the pavilion. To Verethi eyes, chicken nuggets apparently looked like miniature meteorites dipped in gold. Leora lifted one reverently. "This is a nugget." On the holo screens, ambassadors leaned in. Somewhere in the galaxy, an empress probably fainted. Jace whispered, "You don't have to dramatize it." She whispered back, "It is dramatic." He couldn't argue. Leora held the nugget up like it was a treaty signed in blood. "This substance," she paused, corrected herself, "this food is made from a creature humans call a chicken. I will now consume it, with full consent and awareness." A Verethi advisor flinched like she'd just announced she would swallow a live grenade. Jace elbowed her lightly. "Maybe don't say consume on camera. Makes it sound like an execution." "It is the correct term." "Yeah, but say taste. Taste is friendlier." "Taste," she said aloud, testing it. She nodded. "Taste." She dipped the nugget in barbecue sauce. There were audible murmurs. Leora lifted it to her lips, then paused, turning back to the camera. "This sauce is called barbecue. It is smoky, complex. It is used during human gatherings wherein fire is involved and arguments occur." Jace whispered, "Not inaccurate." She took the bite. Her pupils dilated. Her wings flickered. Her entire body lit with joy so unfiltered, so unrestrained, that even the most rigid Verethi delegates leaned forward unconsciously, as though drawn to warmth. Then she spoke, with a kind of ceremonial reverence. "This," she said solemnly, "is delicious." The reaction was immediate. On the holofeed, one counselor dropped his data slate. Another covered her mouth in horror. The Empress's hologram flickered as she leaned forward sharply. "My daughter!" the Empress's voice boomed. "You are sure you are unharmed?" Leora swallowed, lifted another nugget, and said with absolute conviction, "I am more than unharmed. I am transformed." Jace nearly choked on air. The Empress's face tightened. "Explain." "Mother," Leora said, shifting into a tone Jace recognized, truthful and vulnerable at once. "Humans are not trying to corrupt me. They are not trying to weaken our rule or influence my judgment. They simply offered me comfort, and I accepted." A hush fell. Even Jace forgot to breathe. Leora looked him full in the face before turning back to the galaxy-wide transmission. "Humans," she said softly, "feel deeply, loudly, messily. Their foods reflect that. Their hearts reflect that. They are not to be feared." Jace felt something twist in his chest. A slow, steady, unstoppable pull. Leora took another nugget. "I trust them." Jace looked at her. She didn't look away. The room buzzed with whispered translations across species. The Empress exhaled through her nose. "Daughter, you say this human soldier offered you comfort?" Leora's cheeks darkened to a shimmering violet. "He did." "And you accepted it?" Leora lifted her chin, brave as any soldier. "Yes." Jace stepped forward instinctively. "Your Majesty," he said, voice low and steady. "I'd never let anything harm her. Not food, not environment, not anyone." Leora blinked. Soft, surprised, moved. The Empress observed him through the flickering hollow, gaze sharp enough to cut metal plating. "You feel protective of my daughter." Jace didn't hesitate. Yes, ma'am. A murmur of shock rippled through the Verethi delegation. The Empress tilted her head. And does my daughter feel protective of you? Leora stiffened in alarm. Mother! Answer, she swallowed. I do. Jace's heart slammed against his ribs hard enough to bruise. Commander Thane muttered, Oh, for the love of... But no one heard him. The Empress leaned closer to the lens. Then let this incident stand not as a scandal, but as evidence. She paused. The whole pavilion held its breath. That our people may yet find peace together. The Verethi delegates gasped. The humans stiffened. Leora stared, stunned. Mother, you agree to continued negotiations? I agree to continue listening, the Empress corrected. But your human soldier... The holographic eyes pinned Jace. Will be held responsible for ensuring your continued safety. Jace blinked. What? Corporal, Thane said under his breath. She just assigned you permanent diplomatic escort duty. Leora's lips parted. Permanent? The Empress gave Jace a look that was equal parts warning and challenge. If you wish to feed my daughter exotic human foods, you will do so under oath. Jace cleared his throat. Oath of service? Oath of accountability. Right. The hollow fizzled. The galaxy-wide broadcast ended. Silence expanded in its wake. Then Leora turned to Jace, expression dawning slowly like the first light over a new planet. Jace, she whispered, I think my mother approved of you. He shook his head in disbelief. Leora, she just drafted me into lifelong princess-wrangling duty. Yes, she said, stepping closer, voice warm, pleased. And you accepted. I didn't... She placed a hand on his chest, bioelectric warmth buzzing against his armor. Jace, she murmured, you stood before an empress and declared you would protect me. That wasn't... He swallowed. I mean, I would, but... She smiled, soft and fierce all at once. I know. His pulse wrecked itself. A human soldier, an alien princess, a tray of chicken nuggets, and now, somehow, a political alliance forming around the fact that he couldn't stand the thought of her being afraid or alone. The aftermath, where feelings begin sneaking in. The moment the delegates dispersed, Jace collapsed onto a crate, burying his face in his hands. I'm dead, he groaned. I'm either dead or I'm getting promoted, and that might be worse. Leora sat beside him, folding her legs gracefully, dress flowing like liquid emerald over the sand. You saved the negotiations, she said. You should feel proud. I accidentally opened interstellar diplomacy with a snack food. Human chaos reshapes the galaxy, she said philosophically. This is known. He peeked at her through his fingers. You're enjoying this, she pretended innocence. I enjoy many things. Yeah? He dropped his hands. Like what? She considered him. Chicken nuggets, he snorted. Yeah, all right, fair. And... She hesitated. He leaned in without meaning to. And what? Her pupils widened, amethyst swallowing black. Your company. The world hiccuped. Or maybe it was just his brain. Leora, she held up a hand. Do not answer. Not yet. Her voice wavered, vulnerable and brave at once. I do not know what this means. For you. For me. For our worlds. I only know that when I sit beside you, I feel... lighter. Jace didn't move, didn't speak, didn't breathe. She pressed on. I do not want this visit to end. You know it has to, he said quietly. Yes. Her voice cracked. But not now. He shifted closer, something pulling him in her orbit like gravity finding its purpose. Then it won't, he murmured. Not tonight. Her breath shook. The desert cooled around them, golden light slipping into lavender twilight. The chaos of diplomacy faded to background noise. For the first time since she arrived, Leora wasn't a princess, and Jace wasn't a soldier. Just two people, sitting too close, pretending nothing monumental was happening. A breeze swept over them. She shivered. Without thinking, Jace shrugged off his armored jacket and draped it around her shoulders. She froze, fingers curling in the warm fabric. "This smells like you," he swallowed. "Yeah, armor doesn't get washed as much as it should." "I like it," she whispered. He closed his eyes. He was so screwed. The desert doesn't truly sleep. It hums. Low wind sliding across sand, distant generators thumping in their metal ribs, comms towers blinking red in slow, tired pulses. Jace had grown used to those sounds, comforting in their monotony. Tonight, every sound felt amplified, sharpened by the knowledge of the woman sitting beside him wrapped in his jacket. Leora sighed softly, leaning back on her hands so her hair spilled down her spine like liquid silver. "Your world is noisy," she murmured, watching the wind sculpt tiny ripples in the sand. "But it is an honest noise." He huffed a quiet laugh. "Most people complain about it." "Most people have not lived in the Crystal Citadel," she replied. "There, silence is the law. Too much silence becomes loneliness wearing a crown." Something in Jace went still. "You were lonely," he said, not asking, understanding. She wasn't looking at him. She was watching the horizon melt from violet to night blue. A princess does not attend school. She studies alone. A princess does not join other children. She trains separately. A princess does not choose her company. Finally, her gaze slid sideways to him. "Until now," Jace's throat tightened. "I didn't realize." "You weren't meant to," she said gently. "My people believe emotion is a liability, something to be rationed and controlled." She laughed under her breath. "Then I met you, a human who feels everything at maximum volume, a man who laughs loud, who speaks recklessly, who protects without hesitation." "You make that sound noble," he muttered. "It is," she said simply. He stared at her, really stared. Her skin glowed faintly under the night lights, violet deepening to indigo in the shadows. The faint shimmer of her bioelectric field danced along her collarbones. Her eyes, gods, bright as amethyst nebulae. Soft, curious, braver than she knew. "Leora," he breathed. She exhaled shakily. "Jace, may I ask something improper?" He froze. "Define improper." "A question I should not ask a soldier sworn to protect me." He swallowed. "Ask anyway." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "When you look at me, do you see only your assignment?" He didn't answer immediately. Couldn't. He was too busy battling every regulation he'd ever signed. "Leora," he said at last, "I see the person in front of me, and she's impossible to ignore." Her breath caught. "Impossible?" Impossible to forget. Impossible to put at arm's length. Impossible not to feel something around. His voice thinned, rough at the edges. He looked away, but she leaned closer. "Then we share the same trouble," she whispered. Jace looked back at her, slowly, deliberately. She was inches from him now, wrapped in his jacket, smelling faintly of desert flowers and the ghost of barbecue sauce. A laughable combination, yet somehow the most intoxicating thing he'd ever known. "I shouldn't," he murmured. "Why?" she asked softly. "Because you're royalty. Because I'm human military. Because your mother will murder me with her mind." Her lips curved in a wicked little smile. "Then perhaps you rely too much on fear. And you don't rely enough on it." "Perhaps," she said, leaning even closer, "we meet in the middle." He knew what would happen if he didn't pull away. He didn't pull away. Her forehead brushed his, just barely. A soft contact, featherlight, electric. A sound escaped him, helpless, quiet, real. Leora inhaled sharply, wings flickering beneath her skin again, shimmering through the thin fabric of her wrap. Jace lowered his voice to a whisper that lived only between them. "Tell me to stop." She shook her head. "No." He closed his eyes. "Then I'm going to fall for you." Her hand rose, trembling, and rested over his heart. Then fall slowly. I would like to watch. He felt every word like a pulse. The distance between them shrank until her breath warmed his cheek. He tilted in, not kissing her, not yet, just letting the possibility hover in the air between them like a star waiting to be born. "Corporal Rennick!" They jumped apart, as Commander Thane's shout shattered the night. Jace nearly fell backward off the crate. Leora jolted, her wings flashing bright beneath her skin like startled fireflies. Thane stormed toward them, already looking furious enough to combust. "Corporal!" he barked. "You were expected at a follow-up debrief an hour ago." Leora composed herself instantly, straightening her dress with queenly composure. "Commander, that debrief was unnecessary. Negotiations have stabilized." Thane's eyebrow twitched. "With respect, Your Highness, the General disagrees." Jace muttered. "The General disagrees with the existence of oxygen." Thane snapped. "Rennick!" Jace stood. "Sir, you are responsible for escorting the princess to her quarters immediately, and then you are reporting to the command tent." "Yes, sir." Thane's gaze narrowed. "And put your jacket back on. You look ridiculous." Only then did Jace realize Leora was still wrapped in it, like a cozy, smug alien burrito. Her lips curved mischievously. Thane groaned. "Gods help me!" Jace took a step toward her. "Princess, I'll walk you back." She nodded, voice soft again. "I would like that." Thane looked between them, exasperation radiating off him like heat. "Do not cause another diplomatic incident on the way," Leora murmured under her breath as she passed. "We already caused one. A delightful one." Jace stifled a laugh. He followed her through the lamplit sand, keeping a respectful distance because Thane was still glowering holes in his spine. But even with 3 feet between them, he could feel her presence like a gravitational current pulling him in. Just before reaching her quarters, Leora paused. "Jace," she whispered. He stopped. "Yeah?" Her fingers brushed his, tentative, fleeting, scandalous in its softness. "Do not forget what you said." His heart kicked. "I won't." "And do not forget," she added, "that I said it back." He exhaled hard, unable to speak for a moment. She slipped inside her quarters, closing the door with a gentle click. Jace stared at the door long after she'd gone, feeling like the universe had tilted under his boots. They hadn't kissed. They hadn't crossed any lines. But something had shifted, deeply, permanently, and he knew, without question, that nothing would be simple from here on. He braced himself. This was going to be a very long night. Command will now have several questions, and none will be fun. General Borkowski's voice hit like artillery fire. Jace snapped to attention instinctively, boots clicking against the metal floor of the command tent. "Sir," Jace said, trying to sound less guilty than he felt, "what in the name of unified galactic relations did you broadcast to the entire sector?" the general roared, waving a tablet dramatically enough that its holographic display jittered. "I have messages from 5 planetary governors, 3 admirals, the presidential liaison, and, my personal favorite, the Department of Interstellar Agriculture asking if chicken counts as a controlled substance." Jace tried not to flinch. "Sir, with respect—" "Don't say 'with respect,'" Borkowski snapped. "It means you're about to say something stupid." "The princess initiated the demonstration." Borkowski's eye twitched. "The princess does a lot of things. You are supposed to stop those things." Jace winced. "Sir, in fairness, no one has ever prepared me for Nugget-based diplomacy." "Not an excuse," the general barked. "Corporal, every treaty we've ever negotiated hinged on careful language, careful posture, careful planning, and you—" He jabbed the tablet into Jace's chest. "You gave the galaxy a cooking show." Jace exhaled. "Sir, it worked." The general froze mid-rant. "What?" "The Empress agreed to continue negotiations," Jace said. She opened the door instead of slamming it shut. That's more progress than the last 9 years combined. Thane, standing off to the side with the expression of a man who deeply regretted every life choice that led him here, grunted, reluctantly. It's true, sir. The Empress didn't threaten war once, not even a minor one. Borkowski stared at both of them, as if they jointly confessed to wizardry. Why? Why would a head of state soften during a diplomatic meltdown about deep-fried poultry? Jace shrugged. Humans run on vibes, sir. And apparently, Thane muttered, so does the princess. Borkowski paced, muttering to himself. This is absurd, insane, historically reckless, and somehow, he groaned loudly, it's effective. He turned back to Jace, pointing. You are now officially the princess's primary human liaison. Jace blinked. Sir, I'm a corporal. You're also the only person in the camp she listens to. That's debatable, Thane snorted. Corporal, she announced to the galaxy that she trusts you. Borkowski waved a hand like he was shooing flies. Doesn't matter what your rank is. Until these talks stabilize, you're glued to her side. If she eats something, you're there. If she walks somewhere, you're there. If she breathes near a diplomatic delegate, you are there. Jace swallowed. Yes, sir. And for the love of all that is holy, the general added, no more live streams. Jace coughed. Understood. Borkowski narrowed his eyes. And no falling in love. The tent went dead silent. Jace's blood turned to boiling water. Sir, he said slowly, I haven't... The general cut him off. Good. Keep it that way. Thane muttered, too softly for the general to hear. Good luck with that. Borkowski tossed the tablet onto his desk. Dismissed. Both of you. And Rennick? Jace paused. Sir, don't let her eat anything weird. Weird? You'll know it when you see it. Thane whispered. You won't. You absolutely won't. Jace groaned and left the tent, feeling as though 18 bureaucrats were standing on his chest. He wasn't falling in love. He was managing a situation. That's all. Sure. And stars fall upward. Breakfast, which should never be this complicated. Jace was up before dawn, trying to mentally prepare himself for what escort duty would look like today. But he wasn't prepared for what actually awaited him. The princess's pavilion door swung open before he even reached it. Jace, Leora called, beaming. I have discovered another human food. He froze. Please tell me it's not from the medbay. No, she said proudly. It is called cereal. He blinked. Where did you get cereal? One of your soldiers offered it, she said, lifting a bowl whose contents sloshed ominously. It is delightful. Jace walked closer. The bowl contained milk, rainbow marshmallows, and a catastrophic number of unidentifiable grains. Who gave you this? He asked. Private O'Malley, she said with reverence. He called it the breakfast of champions. Jace pinched the bridge of his nose. Of course he did. Leora took an enthusiastic spoonful. It tastes alive. That's concerning. She held up a marshmallow. What does this symbol mean? O'Malley called it a lucky charm. Jace sighed. It means sugar, and possibly hallucinations. She gasped. Humans hallucinate voluntarily at breakfast? He shook his head. No, it's just sugar. Sugar, she repeated slowly, as if learning dark magic. I like this sugar. I'm terrified that you do. She offered him the spoon. Try it, she demanded. Princess, I've had cereal before. Try it, she repeated, eyes bright and unyielding. He leaned forward, took a bite from the spoon she held. Her breath hitched. He froze. Their eyes locked. The world went very, very quiet. I understand now, she whispered, voice gone soft and dangerous. Understand what? He asked, throat suddenly tight. Why humans form bonds. Jace swallowed. From cereal? No, she said, stepping closer. The bowl tipped dangerously. From sharing. He didn't move as she placed the bowl aside and slid her fingers along his wrist, tracing the line of pulse with a curiosity that made his heartbeat stumble. "Leora," he murmured, "we really shouldn't." "We already did," she said, her voice a whisper sinking under his skin. "And the galaxy is still here." He exhaled, slow, shaking, helpless. She leaned up on her toes. A shrill alarm blared from the comm tower. They jerked apart. Jace swore. Leora snapped her wings tight in irritation. The base loudspeakers crackled. "Attention personnel! Varethi transport shuttle incoming hot! All diplomatic staff to positions!" Jace stiffened. "Incoming? Why? Who?" Leora went pale. "My mother." Jace's soul left his body. "The Empress is coming here?" Leora nodded grimly. "She must speak with me face to face. She warned me she might, but I did not expect her today." Jace put a hand over his eyes. "Oh no. Oh no, no, no." Leora grabbed his other hand. "Jace, breathe. Your mother is going to vaporize me." "She cannot vaporize you. It is illegal." "Which means she'll find a loophole." Leora tugged his hand, forcing him to look at her. "You are the only human she does not distrust entirely. She came because you spoke. It matters." "I spoke because you trusted me," he corrected. She held his gaze. "Then trust me now." The shuttle's roar grew louder. Dust and wind lashed around them. "Whatever happens," she said, gripping his hands, "you will not face her alone." He stared at her, this luminous, impossible woman from another world, holding his hands like he was something worth standing beside. And for the first time since meeting her, he didn't feel doomed. He felt ready, or close enough. The shuttle landed with a seismic thud. The ramp descended, and the Empress of Virith herself emerged, tall, glowing, wreathed in shimmering power. Leora whispered, "Jace, don't faint." He whispered back, "No promises." The Empress arrives, and Jace prays for a quick, painless death. The Empress of Virith was not merely tall, she was architecturally imposing. A woman built of sleek lines and carved authority, amethyst skin shimmering like polished stone, silver hair braided into a crown that glowed faintly with bioelectric energy. Her eyes, cold, calculating, ancient, swept the desert base with the force of a solar flare. Every soldier snapped to attention. Every Varethi guard knelt. Jace forgot how knees worked. Leora stepped forward, bowing deeply. "Mother, welcome to Terra Outpost 7. The Empress didn't answer. Not immediately. She was staring at Jace, staring through him, dissecting his molecular structure, evaluating the weaknesses of his bones, calculating the tensile strength of his spine. Jace gave a very brave, totally not panicked salute. "Ma'am." Silence. Then, in a voice like fractured crystal, the Empress spoke. "You are the one." Jace coughed. What one?" "The snack bringer." Jace wished the sand would swallow him whole. "Yes, Your Majesty. That was unintended. Ma'am." She stepped closer. The sand cracked beneath her boots. Leora tensed. "Mother, please!" The Empress lifted a hand. "Silence, daughter." Leora went silent, but fire flashed in her eyes. The Empress circled Jace like a predator, analyzing a very confused rabbit. "You fed my daughter," she said slowly. "Dead bird." Jace resisted the urge to look helplessly at Leora. "Yes, Your Majesty," he said, "but respectfully, humans do that with everyone." The Empress blinked once. "Humans eat birds regularly?" "Yes, ma'am." "Casually?" "Yes, ma'am." "And then," she said, "they fry them?" "Yes, ma'am." She folded her arms. "Deeply barbaric, highly concerning." A pause. "And remarkably efficient. Humans waste nothing, it seems." Jace's brain short-circuited. Thank you?" "That was not praise," she snapped. "Understood." Leora stepped forward again, trying to soften the tension. "Mother, Jace has been only respectful. I know what he has been." The Empress's voice dropped to an unnervingly calm whisper. "A complication." Leora froze. Mother. And yet, the Empress continued, a useful one. Both Jace and Leora blinked. Useful? Jace echoed carefully. The Empress clasped her hands behind her back. Your ill-advised performance has forced the Council to reconsider their position. Many now argue that humans are more open-hearted and more foolish than previously believed. Jace frowned. Not sure how to feel about that. It is a compliment, she said. He blinked. Really? On Virith, foolishness is indistinguishable from bravery. Most of our legends begin with someone doing something unwise yet valiant. She paused. Like feeding alien royalty. Jace honestly couldn't argue. The Empress stepped closer to her daughter, examining her like she was a fragile piece of glass. You look different, she murmured. Leora stiffened. Different how? Looser, a squint. Warmer. She turned to Jace. This is your doing. He swallowed hard. Ma'am, with respect. Princess Leora is strong and capable already. I just provided food. Leora glanced at him, eyes softening. The Empress noticed. Her expression soured instantly. She turned sharply. We will speak privately. Leora opened her mouth to protest, but the Empress had already swept toward the pavilion with the authority of 10,000 years of politics. Leora sighed. Jace, wait for me. He nodded. Always. Her cheeks darkened. She followed her mother inside. The tent flap closed, and Jace was immediately tackled by Private O'Malley. BRO! O'Malley hissed. Did you just flirt with an empress? Jace shoved him off. I was not flirting. I was surviving. O'Malley whispered, terrified. Did she smell your fear? I bet she did. She looks like she can smell fear. Shut up. Thane approached, arms crossed. Rennick, whatever happens in that tent, do not make it worse. Jace muttered. I didn't even do anything. Thane gave him a look. You exist. That's usually enough. Jace groaned. Leora stood before her mother, chin high, even as her pulse raced. The Empress regarded her with unreadable intensity. Daughter, she said coolly, tell me truthfully, have you bonded with this human? Leora swallowed. Mother, that is inappropriate. Answer. Leora looked away. I do not know what it is yet, but he is kind and honest, and he makes this place feel less empty. The Empress sighed sharply. Emptiness is part of leadership. Loneliness should not be, Leora countered. The Empress's eyes flickered with something pain before she tamped it down. You are heir to the crystal throne. You cannot attach yourself to... A human? Leora's jaw clenched. Is that what you fear? I fear weakness. Leora stepped forward, bold and brilliant. Then you should fear losing me, not loving him. The Empress froze. For a long moment, the only sound was the whisper of the tent fabric breathing in the heat. Finally, the Empress said, You are your father's daughter. Leora flinched at the rare acknowledgement. That human, the Empress continued, stands between you and danger without hesitation. That is rare among your suitors. Leora blinked. Mother, you approve? The Empress glared. I said no such thing. But you're not forbidding it. I am not foolish enough, the Empress said dryly, to forbid my daughter something she clearly intends to do anyway. Leora's jaw dropped. The Empress added, But you will be cautious, and you will not let your feelings compromise negotiations. Leora bowed her head. I won't. And you will not let him die. Leora's eyes widened. Mother, why would he... Because, the Empress said, if he continues catching your falling heart as recklessly as he has so far, dozens of nobles will try to kill him. The Empress exited the pavilion first. Jace straightened instantly, palms sweaty, spine rigid. She approached him with slow, measured steps. Everyone around him scattered like mice fleeing a dragon. The Empress stopped mere inches away. Human! Yes, ma'am, Jace croaked. I am assigning you a new directive." "Yes, ma'am," Jace said, terrified. "You will remain with my daughter. You will continue your unusual method of cross-cultural bonding." He blinked. "Ma'am? But hear my words, human Jace Rennick." Her eyes bore into him harder than any drill sergeant ever managed. "If you break her heart—" Her voice dropped to a deadly whisper. "I will make certain you never see another dawn on any planet." Jace swallowed a mouthful of sand. "Understood." She nodded once. "Good." Then, she leaned in. Jace held his breath. "You should wash your jacket," she murmured. "It smells like fear." She walked away. Jace nearly collapsed. Leora slipped out of the pavilion, eyes bright, cheeks flushed. She hurried toward him. "Well?" he asked breathlessly. "Am I dead?" "Not yet," she said, smiling. "Mother is complicated. That's one word for it." "She will rethink many things," Leora said softly, "but she will not stop me from choosing what I want." Jace exhaled. "And what do you want?" Her wings flickered. She stepped forward until their foreheads nearly touched again, this time without panic or accident. "You," she whispered. Jace's heart stopped, rebooted, and came back online doing double time. Then she added with delight, "Also, more chicken." He laughed, loud, startled, helpless, as something warm and unstoppable settled beneath his ribs. This princess was going to ruin him, in the best possible way. Princess Leora deciding she wanted more chicken set off a new chain reaction that nobody, least of all Jace, was prepared for. "Jace," she murmured, tugging at his arm as the Empress and her entourage disappeared into the command tent for talks. "Take me to your kitchens." He blinked. "The mess hall?" "Yes, the place where humans gather to eat and be loud." "That's an accurate description." "And where this chicken originates." "Well, yes and no. Nuggets technically originate in the deepest pits of a supply chain that predates civilization." "Jace," she said sweetly. He shut up. "Mess hall it is." He escorted her across camp, painfully aware of every soldier they passed stopping, mid-conversation, mid-bite, mid-breath, just to stare. Leora walked as if she belonged in war zones, confident, curious, luminous under the rising suns. His jacket was still draped lightly around her shoulders, giving her an infuriatingly intimate, "I stole this from my human" aesthetic. Private O'Malley spotted them first. "Burrow!" he hissed to Corporal Vance. "That's the princess wearing his jacket. His jacket. I am witnessing history." Vance whispered, "History of what?" "Love, obviously. Open your eyes." Jace shot both of them a lethal look and ushered Leora inside. The mess hall froze. 100 soldiers stared at the alien princess. Leora stared right back, delighted. "So many humans in one space," she whispered. "Why are they all holding metal forks, as if ready to attack?" Jace murmured. "Because they're afraid of embarrassing themselves in front of royalty." She frowned. "Why would they fear me? I am very polite." "That's not the issue, Princess." "What is?" "They know you could break them in half." "Ah," she nodded thoughtfully. "That would indeed be inconvenient for them." He sighed. "Please don't say things like that out loud." A moment later, the head cook, Chief Ortiz, stormed out of the kitchen wielding a ladle like a weapon. She froze when she saw Leora. "Oh, hell no," Ortiz whispered. "The last time we had royalty in here, they reorganized my spice rack." Leora stepped forward with regal grace. "Greetings, Chef Ortiz. I am Princess Leora of House Virith. Your reputation for food creation precedes you." Ortiz blinked. "It does?" "Jace reports that you are responsible for the most reliable sustenance on base." Ortiz puffed up. "Damn right." "And he said you possess a temper capable of intimidating admirals." Ortiz pointed her ladle at Jace. "You said what?" Leora clasped her hands earnestly. "Your work makes humans strong. I admire that." Ortiz melted instantly. Okay, I love her. Jace sighed. Ortiz asked, "What can I get for you, Your Highness?" Leora lifted her chin with the solemn dignity of an interstellar monarch. "I would like," she announced, "the chicken." A stunned hush fell over the room. Jace coughed loudly. "She means nuggets, regular nuggets. No need to make this a—" "Yes," the princess continued. "Bring me the sacred meats." Jace palmed his face. "It's not sacred. Leora, it's junk food." She frowned. "Junk? Like refuse?" "No, no. Think of it as delicious trash." "I wish to taste more delicious trash," she declared. Ortiz cackled and dashed back to the kitchen. "I've been waiting my whole life to hear a royal ask for trash food." A minute later, 2 trays arrived, one piled with nuggets, one piled with fries. Leora gasped like she was beholding the birth of a star. "There are other forms of chicken?" "No, that's potatoes." She blinked. "Potatoes? Taste like chicken?" "No." She studied the fries suspiciously. "Do they bite?" "No, they just sit there, and get cold, and taste worse." "Then I shall eat them before they decline." Jace tried not to laugh. It didn't work. Leora picked up a fry. "Explain the ritual. Pick it up, dip it, eat it, complain about politics while doing so." She perked up. "I know how to do that." Jace snorted. She dipped the fry in ketchup, bit down, and froze. Her wings flickered faintly beneath his jacket. "Oh," she whispered, "this is naughty." That's one way to describe fries. She grabbed another handful with indecent enthusiasm. As she demolished the tray, soldiers resumed their meals, but cautiously, watching her like she might suddenly declare herself queen of potatoes. Halfway through her 5th nugget, Leora looked at Jace. "You do not eat," she observed. "I'm good. Watching you discover processed food is a full-time job." She offered him a nugget. "Share with me." He hesitated. Her eyes softened. His resolve cracked. He leaned forward, took a bite from her fingers again, because apparently his entire life now revolved around making questionable choices in front of crowds. The mess hall gasped in unison. Private O'Malley audibly whispered, "They're feeding each other. I repeat, they're feeding each other." Jace choked on the nugget mid-swallow. Leora tilted her head. "Is feeding forbidden?" "Not forbidden," he croaked. "Just suggestive." "Suggestive of what?" He coughed harder. "Intimacy." "Ah," she nodded sagely, then added in a devastating whisper, "Then I understand why it felt pleasant." Jace nearly fell off his chair. This princess was lethal. When an empress walks into a mess hall, this goes exactly how you'd expect. Just as Leora prepared to sample the spicy sauce, the mess hall doors hissed open. A wave of silence rolled across the room like a shockwave. The empress stood in the doorway. Jace whispered, "I'm dead." Leora whispered, "She will not harm you." The empress whispered, "Who gave my daughter spicy sauce?" Ortiz dropped the ladle. Every soldier snapped to attention. Jace stepped in front of Leora instinctively. The empress stopped in front of them, eyes narrowing at the trays. "You fed her again," she said, voice dangerously calm. "She asked for it," Jace said. "She asks you to jump off cliffs." "And I would," he said before he could stop himself. The entire room inhaled sharply. The empress froze. Leora froze. Even the desert froze. Finally, the empress spoke. "Explain." Jace swallowed hard. "Princess Leora is important." "In what way?" the empress pressed. Jace met her gaze, and he answered honestly. "She makes everything around her feel brighter, even this place." Leora's breath caught. The empress's expression shifted, barely, subtly, from ice to something softer. "Humans," she muttered. "Always bleeding emotion everywhere." Jace shrugged. "Comes with the species." The empress sighed deeply. "My daughter has clearly chosen the shape of her foolishness." Leora stepped forward. "Mother," the empress raised a hand. "I do not forbid it." Jace nearly fainted. The mess hall erupted into whispers. Leora's wings fluttered with joy so fierce it lit her entire face. "Mother, truly?" she whispered. The Empress smirked. "If the human disappoints you, I shall crush him like sediment beneath the ocean." Jace nodded quickly. "Reasonable." The Empress turned, cloak swirling. "Finish your meal, daughter, then join me for council." Leora beamed. The Empress left. The room breathed again. Then, Private O'Malley shouted, "Bro, you got approval from an Empress!" And the whole mess hall cheered. Leora leaned close, voice velvet soft. "Jace, did you mean what you said?" He met her gaze directly. "Yes." Her fingers brushed his. Her smile could have lit a city. They finished eating together, quietly now, the chaos settling into something warm, steady, intimate in a way even Jace couldn't deny anymore. As the last rays of the suns dipped below the dunes, Leora stood. "My mother awaits," she murmured. "But—" She stepped closer. Too close. Close enough that her breath mingled with his. "I wish I were staying with you instead." Jace's pulse stuttered. "We'll meet again tonight?" She nodded. "Yes." Her fingers lingered on his hand. Then she whispered, "Jace, I think this is more than diplomacy now." He swallowed. "Yeah, I think so too." She pulled his jacket tighter around her shoulders and left. Jace watched her go, a slow, unstoppable smile tugging at his mouth. Chicken nuggets. That's how it started. But this was something else entirely. Something dangerous, something unstoppable, something that might, just maybe, reshape the galaxy again. Evening draped itself across the outpost like a deep violet curtain, and with it came the kind of quiet that carries intention. Negotiations ran late, but eventually the lights in the command tent dimmed. The Empress retreated to her temporary quarters, and soldiers trickled off to their bunks with the buzzing gossip of the century. The alien princess likes the human. The Empress didn't kill him. This changes everything. Jace lingered by the edge of camp, watching the twin moons rise. He told himself he wasn't waiting. He was absolutely waiting. Leora found him exactly where the desert met the first perimeter light, her silhouette cutting a soft shape against the night. The jacket was still draped over her shoulders. Her hair caught silver-blue highlights from the moons, rippling like water. "You came," he breathed. She smiled. "You called without speaking." He couldn't help smiling back. "How was council with your mother?" "Exhausting. She lectured me about composure for 40 minutes. Then she advised me to not let the human think he has won you too easily." Jace blinked. "Won you?" Leora stepped closer. "Her phrasing, not mine." Just to clarify, I wasn't trying to—" "I know." She rested a hand on his chest. "You're simply you." He swallowed hard. "Is that good or bad?" "Disarming," she whispered. The wind kicked up softly, sweeping sand around their boots. Leora looked up at him with that same careful, hopeful courage she'd started growing since the first nugget. "Jace," she said, "we cannot pretend this is small anymore." "No," he said, voice low. "We really can't. My mother will not forbid me. She fears what the council will say, but she will not stop me from choosing." "And what do you choose?" he asked quietly. Leora lifted both her hands, palms against his chest, fingers brushing the edges of his dog tags. "I choose honesty." He nodded, heart hammering. "Okay. And honesty is this," she continued. "When I am beside you, I feel bright, loud, alive in ways I have never allowed myself before." His tone softened into something he couldn't hide anymore. "You make me feel like I'm not just another guy in a uniform." "You are not," she said firmly. "You never were." He stepped closer, drawn like tide to gravity. "Leora." She rose onto her toes, slowly, deliberately, and rested her forehead against his. This time, it wasn't interrupted. No alarms, no commanders, no Empress. Tell me, she whispered, if this is wrong. He exhaled shakily. It's not wrong. Tell me, she murmured, if this is too dangerous. Everything worth having is dangerous. Her smile trembled, warm and fierce. Then kiss me, Jace Rennick. He did, gently at first, like he wasn't sure she was real. Then deeper, like he'd finally stopped caring about regulations, protocol, or the possibility of an empress vaporizing him in the morning. Leora kissed him back with a kind of wonder, soft but unafraid, curious but certain, her fingers sliding behind his neck, wings glowing faintly beneath her skin with each breath she took. The desert swallowed the sound they made together, a breath, a laugh, a sigh, a promise. When they finally parted, foreheads still touching, Jace whispered, "We might have just started another diplomatic incident." She smiled against his lips. "If so, it started beautifully." He laughed under his breath, brushing a thumb across her cheek. "What happens now?" Leora took his hand, boldly, proudly, like she'd seen humans do, but in her own regal way. "Now," she said, "we take this one step at a time. Together. And the Empress? She will adapt." A mischievous glint sparked in her eyes. "And if she does not, I will remind her that even an heir deserves joy." Jace squeezed her hand. "What about the Council?" "They will adjust." "And the galaxy?" Leora leaned in. "The galaxy will follow," he laughed. "All because you tried chicken nuggets." She rested her head briefly against his shoulder, soft and certain. "Because a human showed me what comfort feels like, what possibility feels like." He pressed a kiss to her hair. "What love feels like." She looked up, glowing. "Yes." The stars above them shimmered brighter, as though the universe approved of the chaos they'd made. Jace held her hand, and she held his right back, their fingers interlacing easily now, as if they had always been meant to. And somewhere in the command tent, an empress reviewed her daughter's future and murmured to her advisors, "Prepare to rewrite the treaty, and perhaps the history books. Because sometimes peace doesn't begin with treaties, negotiations, or diplomatic breakthroughs. Sometimes it starts with a princess, a human, and a plate of chicken nuggets." The End subscribe for more HFY love stories, alien romance twists, and galaxy-shifting moments.